the truth. Germs don't make you sick. We make ourselves sick. And if you're in a company where everybody's getting infected and they're all sick at the same time, it's not the bug. It's they're all stressed and they're all susceptible. They're called opportunistic bacteria because they're waiting for an opportunity to proliferate if your immune system is compromised. So people need to know the truth about this because they're programmed into believing that germs make them sick. So there's no germ out there with your name on it that's waiting to attack you. We have just as many microorganisms in our body as we have cells. So it's just the way in which we manage our internal states.
And it's not the cold weather or the change of climate or anything that makes you sick. It's your immune system being suppressed by your emotional state that opens up the door for
you're getting it.
I'm a student. Well, I love this video because this is another great way to learn where Dr. Joe's talking about our three brains. Take a look at this.
Now we have three brains that allow us to go from thinking to doing to being. Each brain is its own individual biocomputer with its own anatomy and own circuitry, its own physiology and chemistry. They even have their own history as well as their own sense of time and space. Now the first brain, the neocortex, it's the newest brain in evolution. It's that walnut-shaped structure that sits on the outside with all of its folds and valleys in yellow there. It's the newest, the most evolved and highly specialized in human beings. Right under the neocortex is called the limbic brain, the chemical brain, the emotional brain, or the mammalian brain. It's about the size of a lemon, and it's responsible for regulating internal chemical order. Right in the back of the brainstem there in red is called the cerebellum, the reptilian brain. It's the oldest brain in evolution. It's the seat of the subconscious mind. Now, your brain is made up of about 100 billion neurons. If you took 100 billion sheets of paper and stacked them on top of each other, it would be 5,000 miles high. That's the distance from Los Angeles to London. Now, nerve cells possess the unique ability to store and communicate information between each other. So your neocortex, your thinking brain, is the seat of your conscious awareness. You're listening to me right now with your neocortex. And what the neocortex loves to do is to gather information. And every time you learn something new, you make a new synaptic connection in your thinking brain. That's what learning is. Learning is forging new connections. And every time you learn something new, your brain physically changes. So you read a book on how to ride a bicycle, you read a book on how to build a doghouse, you read a book on how to dance the salsa, how to cook French cuisine, how to become successful, how to be a better parent. And your brain literally upscales its hardware to reflect a new level of mind. The principle in neuroscience says this: nerve cells that fire together wire together. And as you begin to learn new information, you biologically wire that information into your cerebral architecture. So if learning is making new synaptic connections, then remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. And just like any relationship, the more you communicate, the more bonded you become. And neurons are exactly the same way. Now, once these neurons begin to fire and wire together, they actually form networks, what neuroscientists called neural networks. Now, neural networks are just gangs of neurons that have fired and wired together to form a community of neurosynaptic connections. It could be related to an idea, a concept, a memory, experience, a skill or behavior or action. But these networks actually have an electrochemical component. And if you want to see mind in action, watch this. That's a thought right there. Again. So you generate more electrical impulses in your brain in one day than all the cell phones on the planet put together. Now, the neuroscientific definition of mind is the brain in action. Mind is the brain at work. Mind is what the brain does. And because we have 100 billion neurons seamlessly pieced together, we can make the brain fire in different sequences, different patterns, and different combinations. And whenever we make the brain work differently, we're changing our mind.
Okay, so we have these three brains, and they're constantly working together.
So let's make it really simple. You learn a bit of information. That information actually causes neurons to assemble into new connections. That's what learning is. We said that. And it's stored in your thinking, theoretical, philosophical, analytical neocortex. If you take that information and you get your body involved and you apply it and you personalize it or you demonstrate it, it means you have to modify your behaviors in some way and do something differently and initiate that knowledge. And if you do it properly, you have a new experience. The experience then enriches the circuits in your brain that you understood philosophically. But then another part of the brain called the chemical brain or the emotional brain or the limbic brain makes a chemical for you to feel differently. So the moment you feel compassion, or the moment you feel like a patient parent, or the moment you feel like a great leader because you read the book on any one of those things, the moment you feel that emotion, you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind is intellectually understood. So we could say knowledge is for the mind and experience is for the body. And in that moment, you are embodying knowledge. The word is becoming flesh, and you're signaling new genes in new ways because it's a new experience, and the chemical reaction from the environment is selecting new genes. If you're able to reproduce that experience over and over again, the process of re-experiencing it is neurologically and chemically conditioning your brain and body to work together as one mind. Or if you've done something so many times, your body knows how to do it as well as your mind.
Right.
Now you're in a state of being. And now it's innate in you. It's who you are. You've done it so many times, you don't have to think about it. It's almost subconscious. So our job then is to go from philosopher to initiate to master. From thinking to doing to being, from mind, the body to soul, from knowledge to experience to wisdom. And we all have all the biological and neurological machinery to do that. So the problem I think that we have in our life is we reach a certain point where we stop evolving into that state of being, and we get caught up in subconscious beliefs and perceptions about the way we think reality is based on how we've had so many experiences in our life.
The same.
So then people make up things about reality because of their past experiences, and all beliefs are subconscious states of being. And the beliefs we have about things actually could work for us or against us, depending on how we're subconsciously programmed.
Yes.
We're subconsciously programmed to think that sugar is bad for you. I mean, they've done experiments where they take people and they measure their immune response, and they tell them chocolate's good for them, and they tell them chocolate's bad for them. People who think that chocolate's bad for them, their immune system is way more compromised than the person who's eating chocolate and enjoying it. Actually, your immune system's stimulated. So, I mean, diet is a lot like religion. You got to be careful when you talk about it.